feel like I have to be more reserved than I would normally be, just to be careful.
Well, I think, Carl, like we all have opinions, and I think anybody who thinks has personal opinions. So having a personal opinion about stuff is essential. It's crucial for someone who considers and thinks about things, right? It's beneficial to consider your words carefully when you're giving your opinion. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to give an opinion without offending anybody, because we know that if we word things differently, slightly different, it could offend someone. And that's not what we want. We want to share with our viewers who we are and what we think and our experiences. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Do you have any idea where I am?
It's a place that I've never been to, but I'm going to guess Leeds Castle.
No. Very far away, actually. I'm not going to tell...
In that moment, you're going to make an edit, right? And then going to put me saying the correct answer.
I'm actually not going to tell anyone. I'm going to ask our viewers if they know. If you know where I am.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
In the comments. I used to play in these fields when I was younger. I used to play around in these fields and run after the ducks. Yeah. Not that long ago.
I mean,
not in medieval
are
times.
ducks faster than a 9-year-old boy? That should be the other question. Did you ever catch a duck?
Well, luckily for them, they were.
You never caught a duck?
Never caught.
I don't know where that is, I have to say. That was my only guess. I don't know any.
Oh, good. All right. So I'll let the viewers guess. Go on, everyone. Try. Write it down in the comments. See if you know where I am. Right. So today we have an interesting episode. I was actually...
You didn't even talk about where I'm...
I'm sorry.
I mean,
where are you? Yeah. Where are you, Carl?
Well, the place where I am is the segue to the topic for today, which is stereotypes, right?
Okay.
So since
Elaborate.
Since all English people love tea, that's one stereotype. Then I'm in India, where some of the best tea is planted. Not all of it, some of it.
Brilliant.
Just that.
Have you ever actually been there to India?
Well, I'm there now. That's the point. I mean, I have actually been there now.
Obviously. What a stupid question, right? What a stupid question. Yeah, obviously.
I've never been to India. I mean, one of my kind of dream destinations to go, I would say, is probably, the Sri Lankan island. It seems to be a great place, but I'm a big fan of the food, I have to say. So I know that I'd do all right there, but I've never been there, no.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, you have brought us to today's topic. We are talking about stereotypes. It's a sensitive subject, I think. It's a sensitive topic. I have to say that I've encountered many moments in my life where people have looked at me and asked me where I was from. And as soon as I said Brazil, they look at me and say, Brazil? Really? You don't look Brazilian. So I guess that's the first. I don't look anything, I think. I've had lots of people comment that I look from the Middle East. So I've had people on my other channel have said, oh, he looks Arab. Many Brazilians actually say that.
So the stereotype is all people from Brazil look the same, right? Like dark skin, dark hair, and so on.
And football players, they all look like football players, apparently.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I think that there's a possibility that the football players of maybe modern life, they've changed that concept a little bit, you know, like Arthur, people like this that play outside of Brazil. But it's an interesting one, that, and I hesitate to make jokes in this moment because actually, you know, I have to be careful.
Well, yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, it's a sensitive topic because we are once again talking about, you know, controversial ideas of race and things. But we can't deny that there is that stereotype, whether you agree with it or not, which I practically I don't, because when you look at someone and you can't actually put your finger on where that person is from, I think that's the true Brazilian. Let me try and elaborate, because you never know. Brazilians look very different to each other. We don't have this um, general appearance. We are very different to each other because we've had so many descendants and people from other cultures and countries coming over. So we've had Italians, we've had Japanese, we have so many Japanese people here, like just Japanese descendants. We have a Japanese neighborhood in Sao Paulo. So we have the Japanese, Italians, Germans, Dutch. We have a lot of Dutch people, Spanish, and especially Portuguese. And obviously, you can't forget the African descendants because of a cruel past. But all of this got mixed up. And when you look at Brazilian, it's a mixed race, man. You have everything. And so that's the true Brazilian. You can't really look at him and look at someone and say, oh, he's Brazilian. No, that's very hard.
countries in the world that also have similar to this, England, United States, I mean, basically the world, right? I mean, there's some places that you go where there hasn't been a massive amount of colonization, or there hasn't been an influx or an outflux of people, maybe Russia, some of northern Scandinavia,
Yeah.
maybe some of parts of Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at those people and say, oh, I think that guy might be from there. But I mean, with the rest of the world, it's basically impossible. I guess that, you know, that could lead to another podcast, but I try to stay away from subjects which are too serious because it's impossible to make a joke about them.
Well, yeah. And
not impossible, but actually opens up the question of whether you should make a joke about them.
Not impossible, but advisable not to. Yeah.
Well, definitely.
It is interesting. I do like this topic, although I do understand that it's a sensitive topic and we should try and avoid and be careful with the words we choose. But I do think it's interesting how throughout my life, when I said that I was Brazilian, people used to look at me and wonder if I was telling the truth or not.
I actually thought that you were going to say football. The first thing they asked you was if you liked football.
Well, that is a second thing, definitely. Like, oh, football, you must be a really good football player. Well, modesty aside, I am very good. Yeah, well, football is a huge part of life here, and like I don't know, like the majority of men play football, just as much as in England, I guess. I mean, my whole football early career.
If you can you call it that? Can you call it a career?
I do. I didn't get paid to play. Sorry, I didn't get paid to play. I paid to play. I remember, like, I used to play in Hastings. I played for a few football teams. Not very good ones. I tried out for the good ones, but I could never get in because I was really small and I wasn't very aggressive, you know. So they wanted more aggressive players, and I was too naive and too, I when the opposing team, when someone fell over or something, I'd go and help them out, and my coach was like, "Don't do that. He's your opponent." But I was just too silly and naive. But
I was not a good footballer, I have to say. I mean, I'm not a good footballer, but I've got a pretty good pass, I would say. Not a bad shot, and a kind of very semi-okay dribble, a terrible tackle. And my brain just doesn't work fast enough, especially for things like five-a-side football,
right, yeah,
which I guess you call society here.
yeah.
But I was involved for a little while in a group in the south of England. We had to go to Worthing. Remember Worthing?
Yeah.
Crazy place. I think one of the teams, if I'm not mistaken, was called Real Madrid, which is a pretty which is a pretty funny name for a five-a-side team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I used to get warnings for grabbing people's private parts, and I was quite a dirty player, I have to say.
Purposefully?
Yeah, like sometimes I would have the ball and the guy wouldn't let me go, and it was just obvious that he was better than me and he was going to tackle me. So I just thought, you tackle me, I tackle you.
Literally.
Well, I mean, in a game of five-a-side, that's 10 men. There's a lot of balls going around, so you don't have to just concentrate on the one in play.
Well, yeah,
especially if it helps you.
Well, it's interesting. I loved playing football in England, and I played, like I said, for a couple of teams, actually a few football teams in Hastings Rangers and Crowhurst and other football teams. They were crap. But I remember I played.
if anyone from those teams is watching,
no, I'll give.
Sorry about that.
I'll give
they were crap.
They were.
Now they could be good.
No, I doubt it, because our first, I remember the first time I played for Crowhurst, we lost by a considerable difference. I'll let you guess. Do you want to try?
10-0.
A bit more.
Did you score a goal?
I didn't. But we lost 17-1.
Mm.
So not too bad.
It's always good to get a consolation goal.
Exactly. I think it was an own goal or something. I'm not sure. But here in Brazil, when I got here, right, Brazilians are, most of them are fanatics for football, right? When there's a game, like yesterday, we had the Paulista Classic, which is the classic, the derby. Do you call it a derby? We call it a derby here.
It's a derby.
When two big teams clash. The two biggest teams in Brazil, Corinthians and São Paulo, Corinthians being biggest. So they clashed yesterday, and the neighbors just go crazy. Like literally, they can't control themselves. They go out on the balcony and just start screaming. And so Brazilians are a bit crazy when it comes to football.
I mean, this doesn't happen in England. I think that takes us back to last week's podcast about Brazilians wanting to include everyone in their celebration. But, it is what it is. Football mad. Brazilians are football mad, but English people are football mad too, just in a different way, right?
In a more contained way, maybe.
Yeah.
More contained. I think so. I think the people I met in England who were, football fans, they were more contained. They were more intellectually they were more intellectually interested in football. So I remember, they played Football Manager. They understood tactics. They studied they studied the teams. They studied the next match. they studied what was happening on pitch. And I think here in Brazil, it's more about the emotion. I mean, lots of Brazilians don't understand a thing about football. They grew up playing because that's what happens here. Like when you're very young, like 5 years old, your parents will put you in a little football school, hoping that one day you'll become the next Neymar.
That's the dream, right?
It is the dream, yeah. And
or hopefully not the next Neymar, because one's enough, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's another thing, man. Like, oh, when you say you're from Brazil, oh Neymar, it used to be Ronaldo, and that's great. Like Ronaldo, okay, yeah, man, Ronaldo, yeah. No one's ever gonna play like him. But now people say Neymar, and I just cringe. Like Neymar is, well, I don't.
Neymar is the representative of Brazilian football at this moment in time. It's very interesting.
Absolutely.
Can I give you one about England? Now, I kind of found this on a site. I did my research because I'm good, and this was on a site where the headline was 10 stereotypes which are actually true. And this one, the English one, was English people love talking about the weather.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, I'm asking you.
Well, actually, now that you talk, now that you mention it, I remember like a very typical phrase that you hear in England. Like whenever you're in public and someone wants to start a conversation, they say, "Oh, it's a miserable day, isn't it?" Like that's the first thing they say. "Oh, what a miserable day!" It's like, well, every day's miserable.
And other set collocations like cold today, wet today, brisky. Do you know that word, brisky?
Brisky, yes. Well, you look at a person and you think, well, it's like that every day. There's nothing new there. But yeah,
it's very interesting. Weather is a good conversation there, and I blame this on the meteorological service, because when you watch the weather in Brazil, for example, it's kind of like this is happening, and after that might happen. And I think tropically, it's quite easy to understand. It's going to be hot and wet or hot and dry, but that's fairly. In England, if you see the map that they show you, like, oh, here's going to be whatever, it's just basically they just put everything there: sun, cloud, rain, sleet, snow, hail, thunder, and they just kind of like, one of these could be true. What? I mean,
yeah.
They try their best, but it's impossible.
Well, it is because I'm not a, what is it? A weatherologist? What do you call
meteorologist, I guess.
I'll just call him a weatherologist. So I'm not a weatherologist or a fortune teller. So I believe, I think that happens. We get all seasons in one day in England, especially in the spring. I feel like in the spring,
like Sao Paulo.
Yeah, like Sao Paulo. Yeah, but it never gets that cold. I think in Sao Paulo, not as cold as in
That's the difference, right?
That's the difference.
Although, to be saying that, one time I was leaving San Bernardo do Campo, and I would go to Avenida Jabaquara for like 7 a.m. I think I was going to teach a class, and that was cold, man. I had to put a jacket on, like a suit jacket.
Okay.
At least. It felt like below 10.
Really?
And obviously, when I came out of that class at 9 a.m., it was already like 32. And I was kind of like melting.
That happens a lot here, like in the mornings, especially in the autumn. Early in the morning, it's really cold, like 10, 8, 9, 10. But
that was exactly the time of year.
Yeah, once you get to midday, I mean, it's 30 degrees outside. So for people who get up really early to go to work, it's really hard to decide like what should I take? Do I take this overcoat or not? So it's really hard. Yeah. But you mentioned San Bernardo. Did you know that I was born in San Bernardo?
I didn't know that. San Bernardo Campo,
Yeah,
Saint Bernard of the Field.
That's right, Saint Bernard of the Field. That's where I was born. That's right. One of the most interesting stereotypes that I find here in Brazil is that when you go to the beach, right, you expect to see women in very small bikinis.
Okay.
What?
I'm not sure where this is going.
But isn't that true? Like you think about Brazilian beaches and you think like women in tiny thongs, and I think that's why they have that popular Brazilian wax that you wax everything, even your eyebrows if possible. Because
really, I thought the Brazilian wax was kind of like a very thin line.
I think it's a Brazilian wax is like getting rid of everything, isn't it?
Really?
I don't know. I've never done it.
Tell the truth. I've never done it too, to be honest. But I mean, I bow down to your superior knowledge of female waxing.
Yeah, I'm a pro. But it's interesting that when you mention Brazilian beaches, and people often relate to this stereotype that Brazilian women wear tiny bikinis and they have big behinds. And all I can say about that is that it's true.
But I have seen a few aunties in Sao Paulo who look like the butt has been kind of like pushed up into the body and turned into stomach. So I'm imagining one of those at the beach.
When you say that, you have to apologize in advance, man. You know, say, look, I
I think I did, didn't I? I'm sorry if anyone is an auntie who has a stomach butt.
A stomach butt. Oh god. Okay, let's stop being mean for a second. But if we think about the Brazilian bikini, when I said it is true, it is generally true. Brazilian bikinis are tiny. They are small. And, Brazilian girls usually laugh at European bikinis because they call it parachutes. They say it's big, it covers a lot. Brazilian, but here's the thing, it's really interesting actually, because here's the thing. Brazilian women will wear tiny bikinis, but they will never go topless because that's just immoral to them, right? They will never go topless. But it's interesting that in Europe, they wear really huge bottoms, but they do topless, like it's something normal to them. So it's the concept, right? The concept of morality, I think. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I've seen in Germany, not just topless, but also kind of everythingless in a park.
Really? Oh, right. Where? Yeah. Where exactly?
I think it might have been Bonn, maybe.
Hold on, let me just take
a note down. You just took a pen out of nowhere.
I did.
You reached behind you and grabbed a magic castle pen from the middle of a field.
That's how much I want to write down the name of this beach. I'll make a pen appear out of nowhere.
Well, it's not a beach, it's a park.
It's a park.
There's no beach. Yeah, there's no beaches in Bonn. It's landlocked.
What else?
English people don't like to take a bath or shower. This is a stereotype that I feel is not true, but I have had this question many times since I've been here. Like, oh, you're from England. Like, I'm sorry. Well, sometimes people say sorry, sometimes they don't. But like, oh, how many showers do you take a day?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird question to ask someone, but I mean,
I've been asked that.
I don't mind telling them because for me, I think people are people are what they are. I know that there's a certain part of Europe, let's not mention it, I guess, to be politically correct, but there's a certain part of Europe where people maybe take less showers, less baths. It's a thing. But I mean, I never felt like England was that type of place. I was never around anyone where I just thought, wow, this person needs to take a shower. It wasn't like a thing that happens to me a lot, you know. And I worked in a pub. This is a place where you would, in winter, definitely you would sense that. And obviously, people are people. You can't judge everyone. But I mean, we're doing stereotypes, so yeah. I feel like that one's not true. What about you?
Well, I've been asked that question many times because we take student groups to England. We used to before the COVID thing. We used to take groups of students, and we often did cultural training before they went, just to help them to deal with the cultural changes and what to say and what not to say. And one of the questions.
Don't say fuck. Don't say fuck. Well, don't say fuck.
Kind of like that. Kind of like that. When you go into a shop or something, never order by doing this. Can I have 2, please? So you never.
Oh, right, yeah.
We tell them these things because it might be offensive. So, like, one of the questions.
Do you know where this comes from, by the way?
I have no idea.
Well, please, don't quote me on this. And if anyone can find out that this is bullshit and want to correct me in the comments, that's really fine by me. I don't mind that at all. But I read somewhere that this was back in the wars that we used to have with France. England had the best archers in the world at that moment in time. Archers as in the guys who shoot bows and arrows. And the way that they would aim would be with the 2 fingers like this to make sure that the arrow would go where they wanted it to go. So when the French would capture archers, they would immediately cut off these 2 fingers.
Oh, wow.
So in battle, the English would show the French that they were fully equipped with all of their fingers by doing this.
Oh.
And that's where it came from.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I had no idea. I'm actually going to add that to our cultural immersion training. Thank you very much.
But maybe you should wait till someone tells me if I'm wrong or not before you do it.
Well, it's interesting information. It doesn't matter if it's true or not.
This might be true.
But so the question of whether English people take showers or not always comes up in these trainings, and my students always ask me. And what I usually tell them is that, it's not that the English don't take showers. It's that they take less than Brazilians. And the reason is simple. I mean, in Brazil, I take about 2 to 3 showers a day, easily. Like, I get up in the morning, I have to take a shower because it's really warm during the night. So you're usually very sweaty. So I get up, I take a shower, and then I go to the gym. And then after the gym, I take another shower. And then when you get home after work, you often take another one because you're so, greasy and sweaty. And then before you go to bed, it's a good idea, especially in the summer, to take another one because it's so warm. So it's just that we take too many showers in Brazil.
I don't know if too many or just the right amount. I don't know. I mean, that depends on your lifestyle. Like you mentioned, going to the gym. Lots of Brazilian people like to go to the gym. I think it's more prevalent here than it is in other places. Like this idea of looking after yourself. I kind of like it. It's the thing I appreciate about here. But I don't know. I mean, when I lived in England, I would take a shower in the morning and a shower when I got home at night. I would also take a shower if I did any exercise. It just felt normal for me. That idea of 2 to 3 a day, for me, that's kind of because, your bed especially is kind of, that's where you spend a good part of your time, right?
Yeah.
It's essential that it's kind of clean and nice. So it makes sense that you would take a shower before going to bed.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that you take a shower before you're going to go to anywhere and do anything. At least those two are kind of set in stone, right?
Yeah.
But that's a stereotype that I've heard a lot.
There's another stereotype about England that I completely disagree. And that is that English food is terrible. Man, I love English food. I love it. I just like it.
What do you class as English food?
Everything I ate while I lived there.
Everything that you ate while you lived there. Indian curry, Chinese takeaway, Italian.
No, but
Italian ordered from the place on the corner.
Well, listen, first of all, the hot dogs are the best in the world. Those grey sausages with those horrible onions and Worcester sauce.
Worcester sauce.
We call it English sauce here. Man, it's amazing. It's the best hot dog in the world, like those foot-long pork sausages. They're amazing. What else? Baked beans on toast. How can you not like that? Baked beans on toast. Beans.
Well, Brazilians call these sweet beans. And can I just, as a piece of advice to anyone who's ever been interested in that or wondering about that, how these beans are not supposed to be sweet, right? First thing, you can't home make these beans. You need to buy like haricot beans or whatever. They're white. They're disgusting. You have to soak them for 2 days, cook them for 7 hours. You have to prepare a sauce, bake it together. It's pointless. Just buy a can. But buying a can of beans means that if it comes in a can, it's full of conservatives. And we know that one of nature's great conserves is sugar, right? It helps the tomato sauce not to go kind of acidic or whatever. So when you're going to cook baked beans, you have to add a touch of butter and a touch of salt to the pan so that it doesn't come out sweet. If you throw those guys in a bowl and put them in the microwave for a minute, then they will be sweet, and that's not a good thing.
Let me tell you something. You just said it's pointless to try and home cook baked beans. Well, on Sunday morning, I woke up and I felt like having baked beans. I had this craving. So I went online. I found a recipe. I recorded it all for my other channel. I recorded it, actually. I filmed me making homemade baked beans. And they were excellent. They were really good. But I used like brown sugar, ketchup, tomato sauce, and I couldn't find the haricot beans. I only had the white beans. But I mean, it's not the same, but it's good enough. It's good enough. It was actually very good.
Did you have it on toast?
No, I was so hungry and I forgot to make toast and I forgot to make bacon. I just had sausages and beans and eggs.
If you go to England, there's no reason for you to go hungry and like just eat at McDonald's for 2 weeks like sometimes dramatic people do. Yeah. If you're one of those dramatic people who just ate at McDonald's for 5 days when you visited England one time, then you missed out on some great treats that weren't necessarily very English. That's what I would say.
Well, one of the things we forgot to mention are fish and chips. I mean, if you do go, you have to try the fish and chips. There's nothing like it. You can't copy it anywhere else around the world. The chips are different. The chips are just completely different from anything we can get around the world that I've tried. Okay. And
by chips, you mean potato fries, French fries?
Well,
just in case there's someone from our cousins watching it there in the United States,
yes.
or someone who prefers American English, chips would be like Doritos.
Yeah, that's
Fish and
right.
chips.
That's right.
Can you imagine that?
Most of the English students here in Brazil do learn American English, right? It's you rarely find anyone who's learning British English. It's usually American English. So yeah, when you say chips, they do automatically think of crisps. But you know, when they ask me like, what is the difference between chips and French fries or fries, and I tell them it's the size. I mean, chips are big, chunky French fries, and they're just much better than French fries. So
And also,
it's different.
if you eat French fries from McDonald's, the fundamental difference is that chips have potato in them.
Exactly. It's real food. It's real food. But yeah,
Okay.
fish and chips. I mean, if you go, this is my advice to any student or anyone traveling to England for the first time. You have to try a good fish and chips. You have to go to a good fish and chip shop and feel the real experience of having fish and chips wrapped around newspaper. That's the best thing.
But I mean, you can't do that anymore, right? It's illegal.
With malt vinegar. I mean, malt vinegar is the best thing in the world, man. Malt vinegar is amazing, and you can't find it here. And I've tried, trust me. But malt vinegar on chips, that is so good.
Let me just to finish. Let me tell you some more of these stereotypes that are supposedly true, and let's see if you agree or what your perception was. So,
Okay.
Germans drink a lot of beer.
Well, I think they do, but I know they're not the most beer drinking population in the world. I think.
Okay.
I think the Czechs are.
Czech Republic. It's all geographical, the same place, right? I like this one. Americans are loud.
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
Not like Latinos, like Brazilians. So,
I think it's saying loud as in like vocally loud. Like, yeah, man, I'm from the United States. Because the accent kind of does have a way of.
Well, I guess it depends
through.
where they come from. I guess it really depends what part of the USA they come from, I would say.
Yeah, totally. I get you on that one.
Mm.
Italians are passionate.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
I think we can agree. The next one is Canadians are polite.
Oh yeah.
I do have a kind of pen friend from Canada, Brad, and he's kind of like the most polite person that I have ever met. So, Argentinians love steak and Diego Maradona.
Okay, well, first of all, they are huge fans of Maradona. More than that, I think there's even a Maradona church. So it's a religion.
There's an everything Maradona. I mean, even more now that he's unfortunately passed away. I mean, I didn't like him because I think anyone that needs to be going to the biggest competition in the world and cheating to be able to win it. And they, let's just say that 1986 or whenever it was, the hand of God, Argentina were obviously the best team in that competition. They didn't need to cheat to beat England in that game.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I guess that touches a nerve for English football fans.
Well, I think it touches a nerve for Argentinians as well, because it was possibly like 4 years after the Falklands War. So
well, yeah.
It's very political.
As a Brazilian, we do have our, thing with Argentinians. which to be honest, I don't, because I don't really care. But you often hear, oh, Brazilians and Argentinians don't get along. I've never seen that. I've had an Argentinian student, and he was amazing.
Yeah, me too. Nice guy.
Never
Very
had
nice
any
guy.
problems. And Brazilians, a lot of Brazilians go on holiday to Argentina, and a lot of Argentinians come visit beaches here in Brazil. So one thing I can say about the stereotype you mentioned is that the whole of South America loves steaks. And I would go as far as saying that Uruguayan meat is the best meat in South America. They have the best barbecue techniques, and the best meat here is
top tip for anyone who's planning on post-COVID traveling to South America.
Absolutely.
But I think that's it. I think we came to the end.
Brilliant. Right. Hope you've had fun. I did. And if we did say anything that offended anyone, I apologize for once. I apologize.
I always apologize. I generally apologize before and after any speaking moments.
That's very British of you. Very Canadian of you, actually.
So yeah, if anybody has anything to add, to ask, to talk about, to correct, just put in the comments, I guess.
If anybody watching has ever heard of a stereotype, either of Brazilians or of English people, and that we haven't mentioned, jot it down in the comments and we'll comment it later. Yeah? Right, well,
okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to go and drink some tea.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. See ya.